Hello everyone. This video is going to be about a topic of cold calling, and it's something I've been doing for the last few days. And I've been calling mainly over the phone, and I would just call every company that I can find. I would just go on an address and I'll just say, okay, I'm going to call every single business that's there. And my goal when calling, when I cold call for the first time, is to find out what their needs are and find out what they're offering. And sometimes it's apparent from the website, so I have something to work on. Sometimes it's a bit less apparent. But what I'm looking for is the stuff that is not on their website. So I always have to just talk to them and see how they're doing. There's one way to never get rejected when you do cold calling. Obviously, you're going to get rejected at some point anyway, but at least not within a few 10 seconds, like the first 10 seconds of the cold call. Something that I find extremely inefficient when other people cold call me is that they go, like, the first thing they say when they cold call me, they go like, hi, I'm calling from this and that. And I'm like, yes, okay. This doesn't sound interesting at all. Even if they have something that could be interesting, I don't want to be pitched something the first time they call me. So I don't do that. Instead, what I do is I call them up and I say, hi, I'm just calling you to see how you're doing this Friday evening or this Friday afternoon. How are you doing? And usually they answer like, oh, hi, yeah, I'm doing great. And then the moment they do that, I go like, yeah, great. I've been looking at your website and I see that there are potentially several ways in which we could collaborate. So I'd like to know what it is that you offer, and I'd like to know if you have anything that you need right now that you're looking for, and so that I can see if I can help you. And at that point, they usually ask like, so where are you calling from? And when they do that, that's when I introduce myself. And that's the most appropriate way, the most appropriate point at which you would introduce yourself when you're calling over the phone. At least that's my feeling, because by this time there is interest to know who you are. If you introduce yourself the first thing you do, then you're kind of pushing it down their throats. Nobody likes that. People get this negative feeling in their stomach when you just call them up and you say, hi, I'm calling from this and that. It's too formal, and it's too off-putting, because everybody does that. My primary goal with the first call is just to find out, like, what are they doing, what are they offering. I might also, depending on the company, it's like sometimes I know that I can potentially offer a product or potentially offer a service to either them or to their customers. And sometimes I would be more interested to know what they are offering in case I call somebody else who has that need, and I can then call back to this company and discuss in more detail what it is they offer. Let me make an offer. It's always nice. People like to have flow. People like to get to have somebody that connects them to potential customers. And when I do the cold calling, that's like, I might as well know what the people that I cold call have to offer, because that way I make every single cold call a valuable call. I'm not wasting my time. Even if I call somebody who is not a potential buyer of my product, I can still see whether they are perhaps a potential seller of a product that I could offer to somebody else, to my potential buyer, or maybe a product that I myself am interested in the future. So the first call that you make, it shouldn't be about selling anything. Now, the second call you make, then you in the second call, you pick a particular theme for the call. So in the first call, you discuss many different topics. And your job in the first call is just to find out sort of this broad picture of everything that they offer and everything that they might need. In the second call, you pick one item on this list, and then you talk only about that. See, if you bring this up in the first call, the message you're sending is that your whole purpose of that first call was to bring this up. Even if that's not the case, you're still sending that message that, this is what I really wanted to talk about. And that's a negative message to send. That instantly makes the person hate you for it, because that's how I would feel. Of course, how I would feel doesn't necessarily mean that somebody else would feel that way, but it's a good enough clue for me to not do that. During the second call, you might discuss in more detail that particular product. But then, of course, after that, you have to call to whoever is going to be the buyer of the product and discuss that. So the second call is not a call where you're going to be closing any deal anyway. And then you call them back again, for the third time. And it's at least, I think, on the third call, it kind of makes sense to go into more detail. But you might want to make a suggestion even in the first call. Like, for example, you could say, the way I work is that I do my cold calling. I do my cold calling to find new clients. I do my cold calling to find new opportunities. And when I do my cold calling, I prefer to have a good portfolio of products, of something that I could sell to them potentially to fulfill a need. And because of that, I would very much like to know more about your products. And most definitely, I will call you back at some point if I find somebody who needs your product. So that puts a very relaxed tone on the conversation, and you don't have to push anything. You basically sort of have a discussion, just like you would have a discussion when you're drinking coffee with somebody. It's not something that is supposed to make any participant of that discussion feel any kind of negative feelings about having that conversation, and they don't have to make any kind of decision right there and then. So try this when you do the cold calling. Try to build a relationship. Don't try to directly push something on a person, because that is guaranteed to create resistance that you don't want, especially if you want to have somebody who you can call back later. You don't want to create any kind of negative emotion in that person the first time you call them, because the first time you call them is supposed to be overly positive. That's the first impression. And then once you're more certain of the need they have, once you have gathered more information, that's when you can ask them whether they would be interested in a particular deal, which you have also had time to prepare for the fourth call or fifth call or sixth call or whatever. So yeah, that's how I do cold calling, and nobody ever throws down the phone on me. Like, they just don't. Like, the worst thing that somebody told me was like, I'm busy right now, and that's like, okay, yeah, you're busy. I'm busy too. I'm not going to call you back because I have better things to do. But if you want to call me back, call me back. Maybe we'll talk again someday, and for me, it's also like I can have negative feelings about somebody, because I understand that they just don't want to talk to me, right? At least not there. At least not then. But I have to work with my own emotions. I have to make sure that I have good answers to these questions, and I get better at that every single day when I do cold calling. The more cold calling I do, the better I get. The more cold calling I do, the better I get. So yeah, that's how things roll. Thanks for watching. Bye. Let's see.